Google is offering free AI training and tools to U.S. small businesses so they can innovate in ways both big and small. Built by Google experts, the Google AI Professional Certificate equips small businesses with practical AI skills. Through hands-on projects, they can start using AI to get more done and unlock new opportunities for their business. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at grow.google/business.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back. It is Jay Scott, and it is the Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. When you're done listening, don't forget to send us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. Hope you do enjoy this episode and all the previous episodes that we've done. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. I always mention the great platform that is Pantheon. You can visit them at pantheonpodcast.com, as well as on social media at Pantheon Pods on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's a bunch of music podcasts with a bunch of people talking about different things in music. So I'm sure you're going to be able to find something to your liking. So please check out all the great hosts and all the great shows on that platform. And don't forget to search The Hook Rocks on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and now Threads. You can visit us at The Hook Rocks. So please do that as well. And don't forget to set your app to automatic download wherever you podcast so you get the latest episode right to your phone. Follow us, subscribe to us, whatever you need to do on each different platform so you are able to listen to us. We just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. We welcomed the great guitar player Nita Strauss, and we celebrated our 500th episode with Dax Nielsen, the drummer from Cheap Trick. And we've had some great episodes here recently. We did our quarterly album review, which we break down the top albums from each quarter till we finish the year. Then we do our end of the year. But we kind of do it a little bit in a unique way that not a lot of other podcasts do, is that we take the best albums, as I said, from each quarter, and we talk about them. And we invite followers that we have that we know to put their top 10 list together too. So it's a great discussion, about a 2-hour discussion about a whole bunch of albums and a whole bunch of great music. So please enjoy that. We also had our audio professor Skylab talk about Exponia, the audio convention here in Chicago, talking about upcoming technology in the audio world. We did our live album quarterly review with Rob, and we talked Cheap Trick live at Budokan. We also welcomed other guests too as well, like some new music spotlights. Julia from the Foxies, great band out of Nashville, as well as the Weathered Souls, and Mitch from the band Moon Fever. So please enjoy that as well. And some previous guests from earlier this year, we had George Lynch from Dokken. We had Kip Winger. We had Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick too as well. And Richie Kotzen from the Winery Dogs, and Scott Gorham with Don Jameson Scott Gorham, of course, from Thin Lizzy, and Don Jameson from the great rock show, That Metal Show. So please check out all those and more. And as I mentioned, we've got another new music spotlight here to talk to you today with a band called The Gods of Sometimes, which is really cool. I got sent this about a month ago, and I really didn't know what to expect, right? I mean, that's what happens when you get a lot of submissions from publicists and bands and management companies, and you really don't have any expectation. And I think that's always great because you kind of go in there with a fresh approach, a fresh mind. And I just love this music. It's kind of like this grungy Beatlesque type style that I just absolutely love. And we're going to talk with Brad and Andrew from the band. We'd like to welcome them in. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Howdy.
Well, thank you again for doing this. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't really know what to expect with this band, and just love the arrangement and kind of the approach to the music is a backdrop to these melodies that are just awesome. They're just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we knew what to expect either when we started recording and writing. Just kind of let it happen.
Yeah, we had no vision for what this was going to be, and then I think we both knew that we wanted to do something sort of mellower than the bands that we come from or in the heavy realm. And we just, we're older now, so we we don't have as much testosterone. So it's like, yeah.
You do mellow out as you get older here, right? I mean, at least most of the time. Sometimes you have that surge of energy, like you had when in your youth.
Right.
I know just by going to concerts, I saw Judas Priest in October of last year, and I've been a Judas Priest fan for years, and I walked out of there going, man, I don't know if I can do this again, because they are just extremely loud. And when I walked out of the venue, my son was fine. He's 18 years old, and I'm thinking that I'm walking next to a 747 as I'm walking back to my car, and I can't hear anything. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm up to this anymore.
Yeah, well, Brad still plays frequently in Fu Manchu, and they're a loud band, but they're very, very good at it.
You are loud.
Yeah. No, it's a hard dose of reality when that happens, because especially growing up with rock music since I was, 8 years old, 7 years old, and listening to it for all these years, and then having that moment when you're like, yeah, maybe it is too loud, which means I'm too old, which was always the same.
Right.
But before we begin and get into what we got to talk about, we always start the same way every time we begin a podcast, with a first-time guest. And that's really what we're all about here. And just like every rock fan has a moment, or every great rock song, I should say, has a hook that pulls you in. Every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a band, a song, an album, or performance. What hooked you on rock and roll?
Brad, you go first.
Oh boy. Hooked me on rock and roll. Gosh. I mean, when I was really young, my dad was, big fan of music. He was always listening to albums in the house, and we definitely split our time between like rock music and mellow stuff. It would be, one day would be Cat Stevens, the next day would be AC/DC. As far as hooking me on rock music, probably when I heard Iron Man in, I bet I was probably like 4th grade or something. That riff, like it does for anybody who ever hears it, sticks with you. And become enamored with that, like, yeah, kind of thing. That was kind of probably part of what was a catalyst for me wanting to get a guitar. I heard that. And I just became obsessed with having to get an electric guitar so I could play that riff. But yeah, like I said, it was definitely, always a combination of listening to rock stuff and mellow stuff.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was very similar, just my childhood, and I guess that dates us a little bit, but I did grow up in a musical family, but not rock music. They hated rock. So rock was very much a rebellion for me. Not to like rebel against my parents, but just sort of socially, like it was not accepted sort of in the circles I grew up in. And so that's why I liked it. And then it was sort of rebellious in that way. And, and I grew up I was a kid in the 70s. So I got all, when Zeppelin blew up and the Beatles were just, were 10 years old at that, when I was a kid, the Beatles were 10 years old. Kiss was blowing up, like rock was still in its heyday. And so like, I loved it. I loved it then, still do.
Was there a moment when you guys wanted to be in a band?
Always.
Oh yeah.
From a little kid, I think I saw a guy playing drums in church and I was like, I want to do that. And I was like 3 or something. So I think Brad's story is kind of similar.
Yeah, we when I was a kid, we used to vacation in Las Vegas almost every summer. And although this might have happened in Lake Tahoe, the first time I saw live music performed was we saw Captain and Tennille play at some casino. And I was so young that I hadn't understood up until that point that music was something that was created in real time by human beings. So I was like blown away that these people were sitting behind instruments, playing them and performing music. Not that we ever saw any rock bands. But being exposed to that, and then as I got a guitar and became interested in guitar, that aspect of, performing music became appealing to me. We saw like Christopher Cross, Kool and the Gang, the Village People, which was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. I remember watching Kool and the Gang and paying close attention to the guitar player and wondering how he was able to not be electrocuted by his electric guitar. I was like, wow, it's his electric guitar. Isn't he like getting zapped by this thing? Like, how do you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of similar for me. My first concert was Eddie Rabbitt. And the country singer. And I was probably 4, maybe, God, I mean, it's got to be 3, 4, 5 years old. But, AM radio was very big at that time. And that country music was predominantly on the radio for the most part. And I remember going to see Eddie Rabbitt. And yeah, I think that the whole spectacle of the show and the performance and hearing the music and understanding that this was all happening, like you said, in real time, was a big impression on me. And, from there it went into rock music. But, that's why I always tell people who have young kids who aren't into music, I'm like, well, take them to a show. Well, it doesn't have to be a rock show. It could be anything, right? It could be just a show at a festival, where you put your lawn chairs out and everything. I mean, have them exposed to that, because I think that's really important, because we live in a day and age right now where kids think music is programming beats and on a computer. They don't understand that there is an instrument that plays those beats originally, right? And that's where all that stuff comes from. And I think it's more vital than ever for young people to appreciate the arts and understand the work involved and how that all happens with making music or making any form of art.
Yeah. Preaching to the choir.
Yeah. No, I had just had a discussion when I had Julia from the Foxies on. We talked about that. Like, just take your kid to a concert. Just let them experience live music. Take your kid to a museum. Have them sign up for an art class and understand the work involved and what it takes to be good and what it takes to challenge themselves and have that appreciation. So when you do hear a guitar player, or you do hear drums or someone singing, they can understand the work that has led up to that point. They didn't just, stand in front of a mic or stand in front of an amp. Very few people can, like less than 1%, and all of a sudden be a master of the instrument. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I almost think like, I don't know how your school experience was like in grade school and junior high, but did you guys have like music appreciation in school?
When I was in kindergarten, they had someone come to the school with violins and they let the children try them out. And I definitely, they could tell I had a knack for it, but they tried to get me to learn how to read staff, which is, the notation for, playing violin. And I instantly lost interest. And it was only till much later when some weird little organ ended up in my house, and I discovered that I could learn like Hall & Oates songs by ear on it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember. This is kind of fun. Which, eventually led to the guitar. I don't know where I was going with that, but as far as like the school thing, like I had a taste of it, but I didn't like the structure. And eventually I did take music theory in high school, but at that point I had been taking guitar lessons for years, so I knew half the stuff they were talking about, but it was just a fun way to spend time at school. Mm-hmm. I can see the benefits for anybody, taking music classes. It might not help you when you want to play rock. In fact, I feel like it shouldn't. I feel, rock is kind of, like Andrew says, is a rebellion against that kind of structure, and more of a do-it-yourself kind of thing, expression, than the whole school kind of experience. But they're both important.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't have music appreciation class, but I did go to when I was a kid, I lived in Israel. That would have been late 70s, early 80s. And I went to an international school of about 400 students from kindergarten to 12th grade. There was a total of 400 students, a very small school. And they had a pretty robust music program. And so I got exposed to it young, and I was playing drums in the jazz band of the school at age like 9. And I was playing with seniors in high schools and stuff like that. And so I got exposed to a lot of older musicians than myself. And the one of the band leaders, the teachers there, had a little home recording studio he had a little reel-to-reel 4-track, and that was super interesting to me. And it was this whole world that got exposed to me very young of performing music, recording music, and totally stuck with me. I mean, that became what I do for a living. So
yeah, no, I just think that, again, exposing younger people to how music is made, real music, authentic music, I think that does make an impression on young people, where it's not just I think people like ourselves who grew up with music and had situations where we experienced at a young age, I think our appreciation of it is different, rather than now it's just kind of click, download, and skip, play a song for 30 seconds, skip, and I think it does change how you absorb it when you're kind of taught how it's done. You know what I mean? As far as the music goes with the Gods of Sometimes, you mentioned like this is a lot more mellow than what you guys are used to. How did that come to be in terms of the tone of the music? You mentioned that you kind of had no expectations going in. You kind of didn't know where this was going to go. When did it become apparent that this was going to be the sound of the band?
Well, with me and Andrew working together, first with MANCHU, and then I was playing drums for MOAB. We were just sharing heavy music, but as we were doing this, we would have conversations and talk about different music that we liked, and we both understood that we had interests outside of heavy music. And I had put out like a solo EP. I think it was maybe around 2006 or something. That was more mellow. And I know Andrew has done, multiple projects with bands where he's not playing rock. You want to fill him in, Andrew?
Well, I'm a audio engineer by trade. So, I've worked with a lot of different bands and different audio, and that's exposed me to a lot of music. And, also, for me, on a more personal note, what sort of motivated me to want to do something more mellow was my dad passed in 2019. And sort of when he passed, it sort of took the air out of the wind out of my sails kind of type thing. And like, I think heavy music for me came from a place of joy, not a place of like pain, like it does for a lot of people. And so when that happened, it just made me want to not make heavy music for some reason. I can't really explain why. I was kind of sure about it. And Brad came to me and mentioned wanting to make work on a solo record. And I said, he said, how much would you charge me to make a solo record? And I said, well, I'll charge you nothing if we just make it a duo. Let's write together and make a record together. And he jumped on it. And so it went from there. And then the style of the music just sort of evolved naturally. We did have some songs that got tossed because they didn't fit sort of where we were headed. We didn't know where we were headed. So, I'd say about 75% of the songs made it through. And then about, 2 or 3 songs, this doesn't fit where we're headed. And then we got there and like that.
Yeah, some things came together a lot easier, so we kind of headed in that direction.
As far as the melody and the approach to this and where the influences came from, was this something that you wanted to approach going into this, or did this just come authentic or organic?
There were common influences that we had that we would, discuss, and just from like a fan standpoint, things like the Beatles, obviously, and Neil Young. What else? So many different things like that. And it was kind of like, so we'd have a mutual understanding of what, we were kind of comfortable with sounding like. And then the style kind of took over. There's definitely influences there, as far as the Beatles and Neil Young. And I love lots of 70s singer-songwriter stuff, and super mellow bands like Bread and America, and things that I'm not quite sure how popular they are with indie kind of rocker people, but like my personal influences, and I think they kind of find their way in there too. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think at first we were kind of, discussing how we wanted it to sound. And then eventually we just let it kind of take its own course.
Yeah. It's pretty organic in that way. We didn't fight it too much. We just kind of went, this is cool. And then, okay, well, this song doesn't fit. Okay, let's ditch it. And,
What was it like working together in this capacity?
Total hell.
What? It did take a long time because we're located, a couple hours apart physically. And just because of our schedules and family and stuff, we would have to only kind of work on the weekends. So it was something that was worked on, kind of remotely and, occasionally together, mostly when tracking. But it took a long time, but at the same time, it came together, given the circumstances, pretty fast, I think. I mean, when you talk about like
only working on the weekends, or if that, yeah.
When you talk about like a band like Boston that will take 7 years to, finish a record, they're probably have access to the studio 24/7. So given that, I think, I'm happy with how quickly we were able to finish it. It is definitely a trip, though, to finally be able to release it in its entirety. Looking forward to it.
As far as recording and creating remotely, that's a huge change for a lot of musicians, especially that have been doing it for a long time. There's also a sense of freedom with it. There's a sense of flexibility with doing that. What's that process like as far as recording remotely versus being in a room together?
Instant feedback. You kind of, that's the only real difference to me is, crafting something by yourself and then having somebody listen to what you've crafted, as opposed to them sitting there while you're crafting it. They both work, but it changes how it comes out, like anything. Like if you're painting a picture and you're by yourself and you're painting it and you get it to a point where you think it's good and then you hand it off to somebody, as opposed to that person being next to you while you're painting and sort of influencing the brushstrokes type of thing. And it's both can be great results. They're just often different.
That's definitely a completely different process than what I normally do. And in Fu Manchu, we get together physically in a room and we, play parts and we decide on the fly how long, each part is. And we record it directly onto a cassette 4-track, and there's no editing afterwards. It's all done kind of, done right there and then. And, with Gods of Sometimes, we record and we have a really, extended period of time afterwards to edit it, to try different things sonically, different arrangements. We definitely had nothing but time to approach it that way. So that was, that also helped, I think, in letting the songs take their own course and kind of find out what the sound of the band was going to be. That's probably why, a couple of the songs at first, we were checking them out and, like push those aside as things started being written and recorded that we felt kind of had a more cohesive sound to them.
You mentioned, the influence, recording this and the songs that you wrote. What was behind the decisions to release these first few songs as kind of your introduction to your audience?
I don't know if we really knew exactly how to approach releasing it, because we hadn't, done this kind of thing before. And as far as the music that people are familiar with that, comes from my end, I didn't really know what kind of overlap we might have audience wise. I didn't know if there would be any overlap whatsoever. So I think we wanted to just give people, a couple tastes and use the opportunity to release the songs individually, to kind of, remind people, instead of, putting it all out all at once and having people be like, one listen to the entire thing to decide whether it was something they liked. We kind of felt it would be better to be like, check this out. Hey, how about this one? And now there's this one. I don't know, it seemed like a good idea.
I think anytime you're releasing something new in a project, there's always that, at least for you guys, right? There's always that sense of anxiety. Will people dig it? Will people like it? Does that come to mind for both of you, or was this kind of made as a project to satisfy your creative needs, individually and now together as a unit, where you dug it and you hope your fans dig what you did?
That I think that it for me personally, it was very much, like I said, my dad had passed and I was just in the mood for making music that featured a lot of melody and harmony and chord changes and mood and stuff like that, as opposed to, riffs and, fist pump. And so it very much, was that. And, it goes through your mind, are people going to like that? Sure, that goes through your mind, but it didn't really influence anything. We made what we wanted to make, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to that kind of approach with Fu Manchu. I was, in my teens, was like really delved into pretty obscure classic rock and, and some punk and stuff. And around Orange County, where we're from, there definitely wasn't any kind of bands. There was, heavy bands, but they were more metal. And then the other side of the spectrum was just all ska and stuff like that, pop punk. And we weren't interested in making that kind of music. And we just basically made the music that we were, wanted to hear, influenced by the bands that we liked. And I think the same approach comes into play here, where we're making music that we want to hear, not strictly making it mellow because we feel that might appeal to anybody. But again, making something that you want to hear personally and hoping that it's something that other people want to hear, not catering to that. Yeah, it's definitely like, I feel at this point, I mean, I don't even know if we were to cater to people, like I'm too old to be in tune with what, like.
It wouldn't be this kind of music.
I imagine doing something like this gives you some creative freedom where, while you're in a band, you have different voices within a room and you have different expectations for each member. And of course, you all align at some point with your thoughts in the direction of the band. But when you're doing something on your own and you're creating kind of for yourself, and you only have you to have internal conversations with, there is more of a sense of what I hear in my head is what's going to come out, rather than someone saying, well, let's put this in. I think we should do this, all that kind of stuff. Do you guys feel the same on that?
I think the key to the sort of musical freedom we have in this project is due to Andrew's talents as a writer and producer and engineer, because we, can work on a song and we can think, completely without boundaries. We could be like, hey, how about strings on this? Or how about, there's almost any instrumentation as possible, with the technology that we have at our disposal, and with Andrew's, knowledge of how to actually utilize it. Cause I don't I can bang on some drums and I can play stringed instruments, and occasionally get in front of a microphone, but, the entire soundscape of it is something that Andrew has the key to that vehicle, and it's awesome. It's made it a lot of fun, and it made it a lot very, very rewarding to be able to hear it back and be like, whoa, we did that. Cool. Made a real
Thanks,
Brad.
Andrew, you mentioned this recording was done after your father had passed and you wanted to do something mellow. Was there a bit of a reflective mood for you when doing this album and writing these songs?
Just a mood, yeah, but that's it. No, I'm going to sit down and write a song about how sad that is, because everybody goes through it. It was more just there was no specific lyrical content or anything like that relating to my losing my dad, but like you said, a mood. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Maybe a mood of just sort of coming to terms with loss a little bit.
That's one of the things that does stand out with the music on this record in this first few singles is the mood. It's very atmospheric. It kind of does relax you, and you bring in then these vocal harmonies, and it's just, and the melodies too within the vocals. Was that something that was right off the bat? You wanted to create kind of an atmosphere with the music?
I think both of us come from bands that like to do that. So even in our heavy band, Fu Manchu does it a lot. MOAB did a lot of atmospheric stuff. It's just part of, to me, it's just part of good record making. You want hooks to be there, but you also want, ear candy for your ears to catch little things. And, how you do that can vary, but I think that's just part of good record making.
What comes first for you when you're talking about creating a mood with music? Do you have the music with the mood already, the idea in your head, and then you try to match the lyrics to that mood? Do you write the lyrics and then try to find a mood to mirror these lyrics, or are they completely separate entities? No matter what, you just kind of marriage them together?
For me, the lyrics are usually last. Not always, but probably 90% of the time, the lyrics are last. And basically, if I'm writing a guitar lick or a piano lick, and then a melody comes out, I usually have a mood in mind by whatever that makes me when I've written it, I can hear kind of, oh, I want this to be like this kind of song or this kind of song. So I'll go with that approach. It doesn't always end up like that, but I'll present it to Brad, or Brad will present something to me, and we'll go like, oh, I could hear it being like this. And then we try to kind of go that route, but then also be open to, well, that's not how it's turning out. It's turning out like this. And then we'll just, be open to changing it up as you go along, if it's cool, or know when it's not working and change gears,
Yeah, I definitely find that when you're writing together with people, that you need to let go of kind of that demo-itis, where you hear things in their infancy and like picture them being a certain way and become like, confused, or like when it starts becoming something else. And you need to, instead of trying to make it adhere to like your initial impression, to like let it become something more than it was when it began. And I think being in Fu Manchu, we've had the same lineup, I think at this point for probably about 23 years possibly. And we're really comfortable working with each other and respectful, and we have fun. And I think that, has helped me with, the whole approach to writing and recording, where you all kind of, work together and don't try to like, impede the process, and, find like the ultimate goal, which you might not see at first, but will be a lot more rewarding if you kind of let that happen.
Well, guys, tell everyone where they can find the album and find you guys. Nowadays the best place to kind of seek us out is on the Instagram, which is Gods of Sometimes. We have the other various places to listen to the record and stream it, like Spotify, Apple Music. And then we have
Bandcamp too.
Bandcamp, where you can purchase it. And I believe that we will be selling the physical copy on Big Cartel.
I think so. Anyway, the record comes out tomorrow. Check us out on Instagram or Bandcamp, just Gods of Sometimes. And am I missing something?
No. Well, all the information will be in the show notes. For anyone listening, check out the show notes, and you'll have all the links to their social media and where to get the album. Andrew, Brad, I really enjoyed the conversation, and love the music, and good luck with the album.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the support.
Absolutely. Like I said, everyone, check out the links in the show notes for the podcast. It'll all be there. So just click on that, and that'll lead you down the way to getting their music and listening to their music. Once again, I'm Jay Scott. Thanks again for tuning in on The Hook Rocks. Take care of each other, stay safe, and we will talk soon. Thank you.